Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the podcast. I'm your host, Ajoe21love, here with episode number 48 of Sports Overview Topics. Got a bunch to go over today. Hope everyone's being safe this weekend, week. But yeah, a bunch to go over today. We had UFC 262 on Saturday night. I'll talk about Tim Tebow, Eric Fisher. Also got early season predictions for the 2021 NFL season. So, thank you all for joining me today. Like and subscribe. How about the video? And with that, sorry, I had something in my eye, but so let's get into the episode now, shall we? So, first thing I want to talk on because it's been kind of the number one story the last week is Tim Tebow. Now, Tebow, it came out last week that the Jacksonville Jaguars are expected to sign Tim Tebow as a tight end after almost a decade out of the NFL. He played minor league baseball with the Mets for a short period of time. He was a broadcaster a little bit for college football. Came on First Take a few times. Now he's expected to sign with Jaguars as a tight end. And he's been given a lot of criticism over the last week. And first of all, I want to say about Tim Tebow. I mean, his NFL career was, as we know, kind of a short-lived, feel-good story. And it was a series of good but unfortunate events. What I mean by that is he was drafted in 2010. It was the last year of Josh McDaniels in Denver as the head coach. They also had Kyle Orton. Tim Tebow, he didn't really do much his rookie year. Second year, he came in 2011, and he did well for his time. He didn't throw. He wasn't a very accurate passer, as we know. Wasn't very accurate, but and at the end of the year, it was 8-8, a three-way tie for 8-8 with the Chargers, the Raiders, and the Broncos. But the Broncos lucked out on a tiebreaker and were fortunate to host the Steelers and beat an injury-riddled Steelers team in overtime for a thriller, and that was kind of the height of Tebow mania. The following week, they got blown out against the Patriots, and since then, it's been kind of unfortunate for Tim Tebow. I mean, in 2012, the Broncos signed Tim Tebow Peyton Manning, coming off his neck injury. And, obviously, Manning was better than Tim Tebow. I think we can all agree. So that was reasonable. And then Tebow went to the Jets. Didn't really play for them. So he was not given a chance there. Then he went to Philly. Tried a bit there. Tried with Patriots and work in the preseason. First means, and then he was out of football. People were talking back then, really, because he was a big guy at quarterback, and he was a mobile quarterback. He could run. There were talks then about him changing positions, but he didn't want to. He chose to stay a quarterback, and then he was out of the league. Now, he has now decided to make the move to tight end on what seems to be a very minimal deal, 1-year deal, and he'll likely be reuniting with his former college coach, Urban Meyer. Now, that being said, the media, he hasn't taken a snap, but he's rosing out because you knew people were going to take a spin on this narrative with Tebow and make it, whether it's political, racial, it's just stupidity beyond belief as to why people are criticizing Tebow when he hasn't even officially signed with the team yet. And to also compare to Colin Kaepernick is just blasphemy or stupidity. It just doesn't make any sense. Nonetheless, if Tebow gets signed, I hope that things work out for him. Of course, we know, like I said, he's been out of the league for a decade, pretty much. But when you look at the Jacksonville Jaguars depth chart, it's very minimal with very much production. So that's a plus for Tim Tebow and his chances to making the roster. Because last year, their league tight end was Tyler Eifert with less than 400 yards receiving. And they cut him. And they drafted one tight end, in the draft, Luke Farrell, who had some connection with Justin Fields at Ohio State late in the draft. So, nonetheless, I wish Tebow the best. That's all I'll say left. Another thing is we go from that Tim Tebow to Eric Fisher. Eric Fisher, the former number 1 overall pick of the Chiefs back in 2013, who was cut by the Chiefs earlier this offseason, has now been signed to the Colts to help fill out their O-line and fill the need at left tackle that was open due to Anthony Castonzo retiring after a decade with the team. Now, Eric Fisher, when it comes to being a first overall draft pick, there's a slew of expectations, a big amount of expectations for being taken so high over all the rest. And for some parts, Fisher lived up to the expectations with the Chiefs. He did well at left tackle. He was a mainstay of their O-line for a lot of years and has a Super Bowl ring with the Chiefs from 2 years ago at Super Bowl 54. Now, this past year against the Bills in the AFC title game, he tore his Achilles and was one of the reasons as to why Patrick Mahomes was running for his life against the Bucs in the Super Bowl. He and Mitchell Schwartz weren't there to protect, and that very good Bucs defense just devoured that line of the Chiefs. Would it have made a difference? Probably not, but still, it would have taken some help off for the Chiefs. Anyway, now he's with the Colts, who already have a big, very good O-line. Now, this just rounds about all positions, pretty much, and they re-signed Ryan Kelly. They picked up the future option of Quentin Nelson. It's just very solid for the Colts and for Carson Wentz. He's got to be very happy. There were talks about them taking a left tackle in the draft. Daryus was there for the taking in the first round, but they opted to go with Kwity Paye. It works because they add to that defensive front as well as getting that need filled at left tackle. So this is just bonus, and I am really excited if I were a Colts fan. So there's that. Now, UFC 62 was Saturday night, Houston, Texas. Bunch of fans in attendance. You can feel that energy. And Houston had some solid fights, headlined by Charles Oliveira versus Michael Chandler for the vacant UFC lightweight title. That was vacated by Khabib. Now, a few fights I want to get into before I get into the main event. Solid card. A lot going into it. And I mean, through these times is just really good to hear fans. Again, it's just really good, whether it's UFC, sports as in football, soccer, basketball, pro wrestling, you name it. It's just very thrilling to hear fans at an event and just keeps you open minded and know that eventually things are going to get better and just a positive note nonetheless. So, first fight I wanted to get into was Shane Burgos versus Edson Barboza. At 145, Shane Burgos, a veteran, while Edson Barboza, we know he's been around at 155. He dropped to featherweight and he was 2-0 leading in this fight. It was a solid fight, and then in the third round, Barboza connected with a beautiful over the top right hand, which stunned Burgos. He looked to be okay at first, but then he just fell down, fell stuttered backwards, and Barboza pounced on for the finish. Edson Barboza now 3-0 at 145. Now can be a contender at 145. We'll have to see him fight someone in the top 15 or top 10. Should be very interesting. Just another layer of the big 145 pound division. Then, getting into the co-main event, El Kukui, Tony Ferguson versus Beneil Daryus. Now, I've gone over it before. El Kukui and Beneil Daryus are both veterans. They're both well-versed on the ground. Daryus coming off big win streak. Ferguson has lost 2 straight against Gaethje and against Charles Oliveira. Now, facing Daryus, you would think this would be a good rebound for Tony Ferguson to get back on the horse and get back in the win column. That was not the case. Daryus controlled the pace for the majority of the fight, stuck to Ferguson, took him down, controlled it on the ground. There was one point, in Tony Ferguson's fight with Charles Oliveira, you'll know there was that scary armbar attempt that Ferguson did not tap out from. This case, Daryus locked in a heel hook on Tony Ferguson, which looked nasty, and Ferguson did not tap. We cannot question the heart of Tony Ferguson. But Daryus, she controlled the fight and won a unanimous decision. Daryus, she edges in that top echelon of the 155-pound division. A lot of interesting fights looking up for him at 155. As for Tony Ferguson, another loss, 3 straight losses. I mean, we know Kukui, he was on that big win streak, and now he's kind of dwindled. He doesn't seem like the same fighter. Really, it's just sad to see. Who knows? Maybe he takes some time off, regroups again, and we'll see. But hats off to Beneil Dariush. Now we get to the main events. Charles Oliveira versus Michael Chandler. Now, Charles Oliveira, has the most submissions in UFC history. He is well versed and been on the win streak. Michael Chandler, he was a star, real star of Bellator. Making jump to UFC now. He knocked out Hooker, and now coming in his fight after one fight in, and he's fighting for world title. Now, this fight I commented on was a tale of two cities as you can get in rounds. Now, I rewatched the fight, but so in the first round, they're both kind of filling each other out, and then Oliveira kind of figured he took Chandler down. He got his back. Chandler tried to shake him off and slam him to the ground. That didn't work, but exploded and got back to his feet. Then he actually caught Oliveira and knocked him down, tried for the finish, but could not put Oliveira away. And then the second round, they come out of the gates, they're exchanging. Oliveira catches Chandler with a beautiful left hook. And Chandler got to his feet, but then eventually Oliveira caught Chandler with another left. Dropped Chandler again, and pretty much the fight was a wrap. Now, I had predicted last week on the podcast that going into this fight, because in his fight with Hooker, he came over the top with a tall lightweight and managed to get it done. Now, again, in that fight, we didn't see much out of Chandler to really get a feel for how he looks in the UFC. And then, in this case, that's kind of why I picked Oliveira, because he's a veteran in the UFC, and again, he's a tall, lightweight, like Hooker is. And now, I almost ate my words because Chandler almost finished Oliveira in the first round, but he could not get it done or close the show. Now, did I expect Oliveira to knock out Chandler? No, but that's the great thing about the sport. as anything can happen at any given moment. So, hats off to Oliveira, long time coming. As for Chandler, it's only his second fight in the UFC. He did do really well in the first round. You know, Chandler with one or two more wins after regrouping can come back and get another crack at the UFC belt. So, again, hats off to both men. But this was Oliveira's night. 7G6262. Now getting into the crunch of it all for the episode. My early 2021 NFL division predictions. Now, as soon as the schedule came out, I looked and I was like, okay. I had to have predicted. Well, I went over for all the games and I literally, all the games, and predicted all the games, all the matchups, and went over and went back and processed the division predictions for how it all fared out. Now, some were expected. Now, not a lot were different, I would say. So, as for my early, well, before I get into the standings, I want to go over some of the notable games on the schedule so far. So, I mean, of course, Tom Brady returning to New England week 4. That's definitely going to be the most anticipated game of the season. We also have Arizona, Green Bay. We have the Chiefs and the Chargers twice. We have the Browns and the Packers. We have the Bills and the Bucks. I mean, we have many good, solid games. The Bills and the Saints on Thanksgiving night. That's as good as it gets. I mean, yeah, just plenty of interesting matchups to look forward to this season. The Rams and the Bucks, week 3. That's my early prediction for, or we could see a NFC Championship preview out of those two. Rams and Titans. I mean, just some really epic matchups to look forward to this season. And I'm excited with a few months away. So getting that out of the way, okay, now the division predictions. Now, the extra game kind of had me taken back a little because these records do not look normal because it's 17 games, not 16 after so long. But yeah, so here's as follows. So for the AFC East, I still have the Bills repeating, although the Patriots have done well and the offseason really well. But I got the Bills winning the East at 13-4. The Patriots coming close, but still behind, 10-7. The Miami Dolphins, who almost were a playoff team last year, were 10-6. This year, their schedule is a little tougher. I had them 8-9. And then lastly, sorry to the Jets, sorry to Zach Wilson, sorry to Robert Saleh, but as of now, 4-13 for the Jets. Now, the AFC North, this kind of stunned me, but I was just going with the flow, looking at the schedule, and yeah, no. I have the Browns winning the division at 12-5, the Cincinnati Bengals right behind them at 10-7, then the Steelers right behind at 9-8, with the Baltimore Ravens hitting 6-11. AFC South. Now, I've gone back and forth with the Titans and the Colts. Both are top 10 teams really in the making. Both are solid duels. I was curious to see how would it fare because both have kind of tough schedules. But I still have the Titans winning the division at 12-5. Colts right behind at 11-6. The Jacksonville Jaguars and Trevor Lawrence 6-11. Then the Texans, who right now to me are the worst team in the league, 1-16. Now, the AFC West. I mean, kind of self-explanatory, although I like the Chargers a lot. But I have the Chiefs with the best record in the AFC, 14-3. Chargers have a strong record after starting slow. Yeah. According to my predictions, they started slow, but so they come back and win 12-5. Raiders 8-9, Broncos 2-15. So by that nature of the standings, the playoff picture in the AFC would look like this. It would have the Chiefs with the bye. It would have the Buffalo Bills hosting the Patriots in the wildcard round. Are the Bills the 2 seed hosting the 7 seed Patriots. The Tennessee Titans at the 3 seed would host the Indianapolis Colts, the 6 seed. So 2 divisional matchups in the playoffs. That's interesting. Then lastly, the Browns, the 4 seed, hosting the Chargers, the 5th seed. That would be a solid matchup as well. Now, the NFC side of the predictions. This was a little tougher, I would say. But starting with the East. Now, I know there's a lot of people that are not giving a bunch of credit to Washington and the Giants, and I get that, but the Cowboys did not fare well. And I'm sure many like me will agree the Cowboys are not as good as some are portraying them to be. So, right off the bat, I got Washington football team winning the East at 12-5. I got the Giants right behind at 11-6. The Cowboys finished third, 5-12. With the Eagles, I mean, I'm surprised I gave them even that. 2-15. But yeah. Now, what I will say is for Philly, there are some bright spots. I mean, right now they do not look like a 2-15 team to me right now. When you look at, okay, can their O-line come back healthy and Hurts, Devontae Smith, that really not. It could work, but yeah, we'll see. This should also shock people, but you know, the way I predicted is the way I predicted and with the flow. I had the Vikings winning the division at 11-6. The Bears finished second with 8-9. I was hesitant with the Bears because Justin Fields, his rookie year, he may hit a wall a little bit, but I expect they'll still be good enough to win some games. The Packers, I have them at 7-10. Cheeseheads can be upset if you want. I just don't have them being as good. Yeah. And then Lions are decent. They go 4-13. Perhaps if they go that route, Jared Goff, they probably draft a quarterback next year. But yeah, that's how the cookie crumbles. Then the NFC South. I think this is a no-brainer. The Buccaneers win the division at 15-2. I mean, yes, people are talking about, okay, they can go undefeated. I was being reasonable. Although, undefeated doesn't look too far-fetched for this Buccaneers team. But I have them at 15-2. The Saints, I have them a little behind, but still playoff worthy at 10-7. The Falcons, now with the drafting Kyle Pitts with a reasonable schedule. And Matt Ryan did not look bad last year. The problem is their defense. So I have them at 9-8, above 500. With the Panthers, and this pains me a little because I want to see Darnold succeed with the Panthers, but I got them finishing 6-11 by nature of the schedule. Last but not least, the NFC West, which I think many will agree looks like the best division in football this season. With so many parameters going into it, but I'm high in the Rams. I got them finishing 12-5. Cardinals right behind, 11-6. Seahawks finish above 500. And they finish 9-8 with the San Francisco 49ers 5-12. Now, you may be thinking, if you're a 49er fan or whatnot, that 5-12 is too low for them. Well, yeah, perhaps, but last year I predicted they would not finish above 500, and they did. Now, credit, they had a bunch of injuries, but I just call it the way I see it. And then this year, they lose Robert Saleh. D'Amico Ryans, who has never been a coordinator before, is asked to be the coordinator for the 49ers now. And now you got Trey Lance and the Jimmy Garoppolo dynamic. And you're just curious, how is that going to fare? I mean, yes, you can't say, oh, Garoppolo took them to the Super Bowl. Their defense, in the large part, took them to the Super Bowl and the running game. Now, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, but I call it the way I see it. So, with that, then the playoff picture in the West would look, or excuse me, I'm thinking about basketball. The playoff picture in the NFC would be like this. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers would be the 1 seed with the bye. The 2 seed Washington football team would host the New Orleans Saints. An interesting matchup. The 3 seed Rams would host the 6 seed Cardinals. Another divisional matchup in the playoffs. And then lastly, the Minnesota Vikings, the 4 seed, would host the 5th seed New York Giants. Interesting developments. I mean, you could say I'm wrong, you could say this or that. I predicted every game. Now, yes, it's early. A lot of things can happen between now and September, but the way it looks, I'm proud of myself with the way I predicted the schedule. So, you can like it, you can dislike it. Your opinion, our opinion. So, nonetheless, that's the episode for you guys. Hope you guys enjoyed it. It was fun. Number 48 episode. Hope you all been safe. I'll be back on Thursday. AEW review, don't drill. Next week, sorts over your topics. So thank you. Peace. Be safe. Love you all. Peace.